This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of No Boundaries Outdoors, and we have a fun show for you guys today. Something that really hits home for me because of what I do for a living. But let's get to the panel. I've got one of the panelists with me today. That's it. It's you, Braedon. You're the star of the show.
The lone survivor.
The lone survivor. Some of them. Jake has to play dad for a couple hours because his wife is working, so unfortunately he can't be here. But and my wife, she's involved in some book club at our church, so she's going to finish that up, and then she'll be back on the show, which will be in a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, you and I are we're gonna run this tonight, I guess.
Yep, we'll do our thing.
So I titled tonight self-filming because I know there's a lot of people in the hunting industry I see, because I'm in some of the podcast groups for the outdoor industry, which is interesting. That Braedon, there's always been a podcast group for just like podcasting with tech and broadcasting, but now it's funny to see a group dedicated to the outdoors and podcasting.
Oh, absolutely.
So and there he is. Jake is in the chat room. I see him there. He's like, "Hey guys." So he decided to show up at least in the chat room. So that's one of the things we want to focus on tonight. But I have a bone to pick with this guy. So it's a one-on-one tonight, and this guy's always talking about impulse buying, and I happen to do my own impulse buying this week, not because I needed one or but I've been wanting it since I saw it, and so
you had to have it.
I went and shot it, and I was like, yeah. It's funny how that always happens, right? You shouldn't shoot one.
Oh yeah, nope.
So I went and I purchased a V3X, and I got a bunch of different Matthews accessories for it. Some of which they're, in the words of the Bowtech at the shop, very proud of these accessories because they are very pricey compared to some of the other ones that are out there. And so I spent a lot of money. Needless to say, I spent a lot of money.
Pay to play. Isn't that what they always say?
Yeah, unfortunately. So we're going to dive into this a little bit, I think. I think if you guys are on the fence, what does this bow have to offer? I mean, because I came from a Triax as a Matthews shooter. The first bow of Matthews that I ever had was the Triax. Before that, I had the Hoyt Carbon Spider ZT Turbo, which at the time was Hoyt's fastest bow that they made, but it was carbon. You shoot an Elite, right?
Yep, I have an Elite Ritual 30.
And that's all carbon, or is that is that a mix, or
it's not carbon now.
It's like a what is it, like a composite, or I can't think of what they call that, but yeah I'm
drawing a blank right now too.
So and you've liked those bows. You have the pure whitetail special with that.
Yep, the pure whitetail edition. Pretty cool camo pattern. So really happy with how it shoots so far, though. Everything's smooth.
Well, it's a good thing that they signed back on to partner with us again for another year, because you have the bow.
Yep, I'd be impulse buying.
Oh, was that really? That's like your backup impulse buy?
Well, yeah. I didn't need it. Looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and finally I told the wife, I'm like, I did something today. She's like, what? I just ordered a new bow. It'll be here in about a week. She's like, you did what? I'm like, oh, yeah. It's really nice, though. I mean, it's cool. I got it. And she's like, oh, yeah, so nice.
She's probably like, "There's not really anything different about it than your other bow, except for what it looks like."
She said it looks the same. I'm like, but
my wife
gotta have new.
My wife didn't fight me on this. I asked her about getting it, and the only thing she said to me, she said, "I'm surprised you're not getting camo." And I went with the new granite color just because it just seems like it would fit any season.
Yeah, that's a slick looking color on them. I really do like that color.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with it, just how it looks and whatnot. But there's certain features with it that I thought were really cool. So what I want to do right now is I want to show you guys, before we get into the camera stuff, I want to show you guys just a brief overview. Daniel and I were out shooting yesterday, so I had Daniel running the camera, so please forgive any flubs that you might have seen. He did the best he could. He did a really good job. Because you can't film and zoom in and do all that stuff, when you're holding the bow. It just doesn't work. So he was gracious enough to do it. So check this out. All right, guys. So I blame Braedon for this, but this was an impulse buy. I've got the brand new Matthews V3X, upgraded from the Triax. This is a 29-inch axle to axle. I know I'm a little late to the game. This came back out in November, but I wanted to talk a little bit about why I upgraded to this bow and the parts that I got on it. You can see Matthews, they made this brand new technology. I apologize, it's a little windy out here. We're out shooting a little bit. Where they made this, like, it's almost like an integrated rest it's the engaged limb legs, but they made it so that you can rest it on the ground. It's not to be confused with the rest that's on the bow. And I think this is a great invention that they made. I wish they would have made this a while ago, but they made it for the V3. So like the V3, I'm not sure if it fits on the Triax. I'm going to try it, but the V3 and the V3X works great. I went down to a 6-inch stabilizer because my Bowtech was telling me if I'm out at full draw and I'm kind of wobbling a little bit, that could be part of the cause. I'm using too long of a stabilizer for this. So I went with a 6, and then having this on it when you shoot still can, give you enough stabilization. And I went with the Low Pro quiver for it. It's a 5 arrow quiver, and it has like a little lock right here that you just unlock, and then you can pull your quiver off, just that simple, and hang it on a tree. Now, because I'm not using the integrated sight, which I'll show you here in a little bit, it's not something I would shoot with that on. Yes, but if you're one that's wanting to shoot with it on, then I would get the new technology that Matthews did, where if you have a dovetail, I don't know if you can see this, but right here you can put the sight inside the riser, and then it has like a little screw that you can go down inside that'll hold it in place to prevent it from falling out. I stuck with my Apex Gears 2-dot sight. I like that sight, so it's attached on the side of the riser, as well as I like my ripcord rests, and that's what my Bowtech also uses. So I didn't go with the dovetail QAD rest that also can go right here on the side here as well. So other than that, it's 70-pound draw. I think it's 85 let off. I think that's what we have it for, or I believe it's 85. And Matthews did on this one, so 70-pound, which is what I'm getting used to. 70-pound is also 74, I think it's 74.6 pounds, so I'm getting used to that extra 4 pounds. But overall, I took the granite color. I guess that's their new color this year that they're really pushing with the harmonic dampening on it. I like the color. I've always bought in camo bows. I still have my Triax with the Under Armour camo that I have as a backup, but so far I'm pretty happy with this bow, and I'm going to do some more shooting with it. But I wanted to kind of give you this, guys, as a new purchase, what we're talking about here on the show today about filming and things like that. I thought this would be a great time to tell you guys about the brand new bow. I really like the grip. I think it's really nice. It's very quiet. Matthews bows are always very quiet. But in the next coming weeks, I'll have some shooting videos and some more reviews on it. So, guys, let's go back. So there you go, guys. Like I said, we'll show you, a review down the road. But again, Braedon, I was kind of getting into that, and I really liked it. But now I'm starting to think about that the True Ball site that they made for the Matthews.
Yep, the integrated dovetail on the riser.
Yeah, I have a dovetail one now that is from Apex Gear, their new magnitude site, which is just a 5-pin. You can't dial out or anything like that. But the problem is with this, and this isn't me saying this, so I don't want to take credit for this, but I was talking to our bow tech about it. If you look at this site, and I'll pull it up here in a little bit, it kind of has like a roll to it. It's not a perfect L. It kind of rolls to the left, and all the other sites that you look at that are dovetail, they're like a perfect L. So what's happening is people are having to buy extenders for the windage to get it out far enough so that they can get it in line. So, and I'm sure other dovetails that are going to come out are going to be made for this because, let's face it, the other bow companies are going to go, wow, this is a great idea. We're going to do this too. I mean, it's inevitable, right?
Oh, that was genius on Matthew's part. I don't shoot Matthews, and I was like, might get one just for the integrated dovetail sleeve and the riser.
So with that, as well as having that dovetail on the back for the rest, the only thing is I'm not a big fan of QAD, and I had a QAD on my Hoyt Charger back when I first had a Hoyt, and obviously for shooting it for a couple of years before I went to the Carbon Spider Turbo, what was happening was after being wet and hunting and stuff, that it needed to be opened up and repacked with grease because it just it wasn't working right. And so ever since then, I've just been gun shy with Apex or with QAD. So I'm kind of hoping there's another company that comes out right for this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Mark in the chat room. What's going on, Mark? So I want to show you some features here with this. Like, I know I talked a little bit about it here, and I know, Braedon, we were kind of talking about it, but I want to kind of point some of these things out because these were some of the things that jumped out at me as to why I really wanted to get this. And I know you Western hunt. You hunt out west, Colorado, This bow I could see, even if you're not a Matthews fan, I think all bow companies need to do this. And I'm just going to roll forward this video. If you look on the cam there, right by the limbs there, you're going to see right underneath the limb, you're going to see like a little finger that comes up. And then you're also going to see one over there by the hats on the right-hand side. Those are used that you can buy this. Again, they're proud of this string. A $40 looks like a string that's made specifically for the 29-inch, because this is a 29-inch, and then there's one for the 33. You push down on the top string, which is the one you would normally pull back, and it takes the load off the cam and actually rolls it in, so you can hook the string on and make it a bow press in the field. Like if you have to take a twist out of your string, or even your cables, like you crisscross it on the bottom pin or the bottom peg. We'll call it a peg. I don't know what else you would call it, but on the cam, the bottom to the top one, like so that way you can adjust your cables if needed. So in a pinch, if a bow shop is closed or if you're out west, I mean, how far are bow shops from where you're hunting sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I haven't bow hunted in out of state, like out west yet, but even just to find a store, I mean, where we hunted, to find like the nearest gas station, which also combines as a gun shop, which is pretty wild. I mean, I wish we had those back in Pennsylvania, but I mean, we were driving 45 minutes to an hour to find a gas station. So at that gas station, like I said, they sold guns and ammo, all your hunting needs. So technically an hour and a half we had to drive one way to even find anything, if say a scope broke or something like that.
Yeah, or even your peep. Let's say your D-loop ripped or something. Hey Juan, what's going on in the chat room? Yeah, so I was kind of like, okay, that's really cool. I don't know if I'll ever change it, but I like having the option if I had to do that, right?
Right.
So right now I'm showing you a little. I did some close-up videos because I know the one that Daniel was shooting. Again, he's learning how to do this. I'm trying to teach him. He's 9 years old. He helped me and shoot that, but I went back and did some B-roll here where you guys could see. Here's where the dovetail rest would go on the back. Right, and I'm using a ripcord. Our Bowtech really likes ripcord. I've liked them ever since I put them on. Never had a problem with it. The only problem I ever had was that fork. When I accidentally let go of my release the one time, it just when I was learning, it just slipped off my fingers and it broke the fork, which was an easy replacement because he had a backup. But then also where you can put the integrated sight right inside, and then there's a little screw hole where you can put that in to hold it steady. But look how close, Braedon, the quiver is. That's a great view right there. You can see how close
that's really tight.
Those arrows are. And I bought that quiver, and it's a $250 quiver. Like, depending on where you get it, could be like $200.
Yeah.
I don't hunt with a quiver on, but these guys that are hunting with quivers on, they're like, it doesn't even feel like there's a quiver on. When you're out west, do you hunt with a quiver on?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
I mean, it kind of tends, when I've done it in the past, it tends to want to like rock to the,
it tends to lean you, yeah, because all the weight's top heavy per se to one side.
And then you add some wind to that. You're in some sad shape, right?
Yep.
So what we're going to do real quick, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to show you some more of this before we get into some of the more features and we get into some of the options that you have for self-filming, whether it's fishing or hunting, and some of the options that are out there, whether they're really expensive or even very cheap. So stay with us. We'll be right back right after this quick break.
Apex Gear, known for their performance-driven archery sights and accessories, is pleased to introduce the new Covert Series archery sight. VersaPin technology allows shooters to change the pin color and pin size on demand in an instant. The compact and lightweight sight is equipped with stainless steel hardware, micro-adjustable windage and elevation, an ultra-smooth, easy one-hand adjustment knob for quick yardage changes, and a micro-push button light. The new Covert Series from Apex Gear.
Right off the cuff, too.
Confidence is key, and when bow hunting, confidence can be defined by one word: accuracy. Introducing the Thorn Expandable Broadhead. Its patented hidden blade technology guarantees field point accuracy, and the patented rip tip grabs at hide and flesh, ensuring deployment and beginning the process of devastation. Its stainless steel blades render up to a massive 2.2-inch cut. For confidence and accuracy, there is only one choice: Thorn Broadheads, the world's most accurate broadhead.
So again, guys, we really appreciate all the support that the sponsors are giving us, and a lot of the toys we get to play with. And Braedon, during the break, he was asking me, he's like, hey, did you get to try those thorns out? Not yet, because since getting this bow, and we're going to get back to talking about this bow here, it's a 70-pound bow, okay? Triax, 70 pounds, I pull it back, no big deal. This bow, Matthews gives you a little extra. It comes out at 74.6. So you're sitting there, some of you guys are like, oh, it's almost only 5 pounds more. Let me tell you, to a bow shooter, 5 pounds is a lot. So it's like when you go from 65 to 70 pounds, it's like I have to build up that arm strength again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the only one that has this problem, but I'm not a big guy. So I'm out there almost every day. I've been doing some reps. Today I shot 15 arrows and I had to stop because I was feeling it like I couldn't. I just couldn't get it. Yep. I mean, I'm not sore in my shoulders or anything. I just, you just can't do it. So, that's where we're at with that. But I'll kind of show everybody the other feature that I really liked on this. We'll get rid of that lower third. Is the rest that you can set it down? You can see it cants the bow forward. So, like if you're out 3D shooting, you can set that on the ground, and it won't sit on your cams. That was one of the things I wish Matthews would have done a while ago. It's a tri-leg stand. So if I set that on the ground, you could actually see that it's probably about 1.5 inches off from the cam. So
yeah, that makes it nice.
Yeah, that's a very nice option. And the other thing I want to show here is the cutout on the quiver. If you look at the quiver here, it's so close to the riser, which is what you saw before, and it's so close to your limbs. When those limbs roll back, they cut like 45s at the top of where the pole goes in, if you guys can see that. And there's also a cutout on the side of the quiver. And I know it's hard to see in this video vantage point, but it's funny because they made it so that it doesn't hit because it's that close. Like, they thought of everything with this. I'm trying not to sound like a fanboy here because that's not the case. I mean, these are some of the things, like, people ask, well, if the triax was shooting good, why did you upgrade? So that's what I'm trying to show here, some of the features. I mean, look, Hoyt came out with a great bow this past year and even the year before, but I just think their pricing right now is ridiculous, and we can kind of get into that here in a little bit. There's where that clips on that quiver. This is just a quick, from the top to the bottom look at the bow. I'm really happy with it. I'm not regretting getting it, but $10.99 MSRP, sticker price. I think it's $11.99 MSRP. Matthews, $17.99 MSRP, or excuse me, Hoyt, $17.99 MSRP for their brand new bow. I think they had them at the shop for $1,600. When I've seen a lot of the tests on there, and I know some people will argue you're comparing carbon to aluminum, I'm just throwing this out there. The IBO speeds are exactly the same. And the weight of it is exactly the same. And I know you're not comparing apples to apples. I get that. But to the common bow hunter, I mean, are you going to pay the extra $600 for a carbon bow if it weighs the same as an aluminum bow?
No. Nope.
I mean, the average new bow. I mean, what are the new elites costing right now?
Like 1,100, something like that. I would say. I think whenever I bought mine new 2 years ago, it was 900 to 1,000, right around there.
So I mean, that's what I expect to pay for a brand new bow. Maybe I'm expecting too much, but I think we paid. I think Floyd said we paid like $1,300 or $1,400 for our Carbon Spider ZT turbos. Now, they were at the top of the line for Hoyt at the time.
Yep.
They were 34 inches axle to axle, and I didn't like the big bow anymore. I didn't want it, man. When you're up in a tree stand that has one of the safety bars around it,
yep, and
you're on a tether and you're leaning forward, or in my wife's case, like, I would lift that bar up. My wife, she won't go up in a tree stand if it has one of them bars. That bar better be down. Like, that's kind of how she is. And it's hard. Like, you got to lift your bow up over it and then draw back.
Oh yeah, it's not easy.
So, anyways, it's all your fault. If you've seen it on social media, we've been doing hashtag blame Braedon. We've been saying it's all Braedon's fault. Hashtag impulse buy. So it was one of those things, and I just kept hearing Braedon would buy it as an impulse.
Absolutely, like I did with my Elite.
I just needed the excuse, and then my wife was like, "Yeah, go ahead, get it." But little did I know, I could say this because she's not sitting right next to me. Little did I know that she wanted to go clothing shopping the next day, and there's a bunch of clothes that she wanted to get. So she knew
it was a win-win.
It was a win-win for everybody. So,
yep. And you're happy. You're extremely happy with your impulse buy.
I'm extremely happy with it, and so that's where I'm at with it. So I think it was a good buy. So even if you're not a Matthews fan, watch YouTube videos. I watched tons of YouTube videos before making this purchase because I wanted to see what the difference was. Was it a significant upgrade from my Triax? And I have to say, just in shooting it, okay, the grip that they did on the Triax, even though at the time I never shot any other Matthews bows, so I didn't know the difference.
Right.
Shooting the Triax to this, it feels like you're holding a 2x4 sideways.
That's one thing I hated about the Tri-X. I shot it whenever it was new, and I said I won't buy it just because the grip is so fat.
Right? It felt like you were holding, you were
Yep.
holding, like if you turn this 2x4 sideways and you were doing the 2-inch side, that's what it felt
Yep.
like. It just, you had to raw four
Absolutely.
corners, right? The new one is more like, it feels almost like, I hate to compare it to a Hoyt grip, but I don't know how else to compare it because that's all I've ever shot was Hoyt and Matthews.
Right.
So, but you know what I'm saying? Like the Hoyt had the actual grip. It wasn't
Yeah.
you know, so Matthews
Yep.
did improve on that. That in itself, forget all the other bells and whistles, that in itself, after shooting the Tri-X for 4 years, and I still have my other Tri-X. I'm not getting rid of that as my backup bow. I'm giving my brother, so it was a benefit too. I'm giving my brother my first Tri-X because I had two of them. One is a backup bow. One, I always keep a backup bow like you do. Um,
Yep.
my brother has my first Hoyt Charger, which was the first bow I ever owned. So now he's going to pass that off to his wife, and he's going to take the Tri-X, and he's getting it all loaded and decked out, and so he's putting a new string on it. So, and he'll be shooting at this fall.
There you go.
So it's a win-win across the board for everybody. So
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get started talking about self-filming. We talked about the impulse buy, but a lot of guys now, they're getting their bows, and there's a challenge with self-filming when you're in the woods. Whether you're running a camera and you see the professionals on TV, we'll call them professionals or TV
Yep.
stars. They always have a camera crew with them. But how do you do it when you're regular people like you and I, who are going into the woods and we want to capture a film or our kills on film? Braedon, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit how you do it before I go through some show and tell here.
Well, I will say for me, archery hunting, it's extremely hard because I'm left-handed. So for me, the way I set up my filming gear, I'm hunting out of a trophy line saddle, so I'm facing the tree. And then I would have my camera arm on the right of me with my Canon G20 on it. And yeah, it sounds easy, right? But me being left-handed, if the deer's coming toward me on the right side of the tree, normally the viewfinder on all cameras are on the left side. So I'm trying to work my camera, my remote stick with my right hand, but at the same time I'm trying to hold my bow with my right hand, and it's just. And then whenever I swing around to use my left hand, then I can't see the viewfinder. So it's not as easy as everyone thinks it is. So it takes a lot to get used to it. It's easier for right-handed hunters, but yeah, I mean I get frustrated. Don't get me wrong, I get really frustrated, but at the same time, when you get that kill shot or you get something really cool on it and you can come home and play it back, or even say your son's first deer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 20 years from now, you can go to your son's house and show him the footage and be like, hey, right here's your first deer. Here's how it all played out.
Yep.
So memories that you'll never forget.
I think that's the reason I want to do it more so than anything. I've got a couple bow kills on camera. I've got a couple shots, which I know we'll get into a future edition with some of the failed broadheads that we've used and why we think they're failed broadheads. And that's not to put the companies down, but just to show why we don't shoot those heads and why we didn't like them.
Right.
And that was the only reason I didn't spend hours that night looking for the deer, was because of filming. If I didn't film it, I would have been hunting that deer down because I thought I killed it. It was a good shot, but you hit shoulder.
That plays a key role in it. You can instantly play it back and know if it was a good shot or a bad shot.
Well, in my case, I shot a doe at 40 yards, went right into the shoulder, and I only know that because I saw it on the footage. And the head that I was using only went in 2 inches, which is not going to penetrate any vitals.
No.
And right before it went into the woods, it was wiggling up and down, and then as soon as it hit like the little bit of brush that was there, it fell off. The arrow just fell down. And so when we went back and looked at it, the broadhead failed because it should have penetrated more.
Right.
But it is what it is. So I know we'll kind of get into stuff like that, but what type of gear do you use when you go self-filming? I mean, are you taking a ton of gear? Because I mean, that's every hunter's cringeworthy moment, because you're trying to always go into the woods as light as possible, take the least amount of stuff.
Definitely adds some weight to your pack, or however you're carrying your gear in. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, so what are you taking in? What goes in with you when you're self-filming?
So for me, obviously I have my camcorder, which would be the Canon G20, and then I have it mounted with a remote and an arm, and then I have two camera arms, but I mainly use this one right here. It's called the Reach by Out on a Limb. So basically, Matt, he's a wizard whenever it comes to machining stuff, and he came up with this camera arm for mobile hunters. Basically, I mean, it's not super long, but it gets the job done. Lightweight, easy to use. I mean, yep, right there it is. So
I'm just showing it extended in the price point.
Yeah, so I mean, so you got this. You can see how pretty small and compact, and then also the arm actually folds out, so you don't have a lot to put in your pack compared to this big boy, which I know that's what you use, right?
Yeah, I'm going to show the setup with that here in a little bit, but yeah.
Which I do like my Muddy, don't get me wrong. It's beefy, and it's going to withstand some of your bigger video cameras, your more professional quality ones that you have $6,000 in, and you want to make sure they're not going to fall out of the tree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my G20 is not super heavy, so I got the Reach by Out on a Limb, and I've been happy with it so far. Like I said, it packs nice. Easy to operate, smooth, quiet. And then I also just I have a GoPro Hero 8 Black, and then I recently just got a GoPro Hero 10 with, I don't know what you want to call it, just like a flexible GoPro mount with a buckle that I strap to my tether so I can get the full downward shot of me if I'm swinging around a tree to get a shot, or like drawing back and whatnot. So I'll do some interviews, like mid hunt breakdowns on that, and just because it's there, it's convenient. It takes good quality video, so less movement in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Is the movement part of it, and that's what people don't realize. Right. Hey, what's going on, Brad? So a lot of people don't realize movement is a big deal with it, and also setting up. I mean, it's one more thing that you got to set up, and like saddle hunters, and I'm going to be embarking in that. I know my buddy Mark, he watches the show, and he's been after me too to do the saddle thing. And then when I told him I was getting a saddle, he was all about, like, tomorrow he's going to be coming over, him and his family, and he was like, oh, because I don't have sticks and I don't have the base. He's like, oh, I'll bring mine over, and we'll get you up in the tree to try it out. So we'll see. I know they're calling for some weather tomorrow night, but that's my concern. Like, when you got to carry all these sticks into the woods, this base, your saddle, and I know you can wear the saddle, your ropes and everything, and then carrying camera gear, and that's what a lot of the hunters are saying. Like, what do we do?
Right.
So let's show you now. I have a rig that's similar to Braedon's, and with the Muddy arm, and I'll show you exactly how I have it set up on a tree. I actually did it on a tree, and then we'll go through some different options that you can use it. You don't want to have to use a camcorder; that's super expensive. And talk to you about some of this. So check this out, and then we'll be back after the break. Can we come back?
We're outside, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about today is our mobile rig setup for filming. And so I wanted to show you my mobile setup. Now, this is by no means an endorsement for this product, but this is a product that I had purchased. I got it pre-owned, so I only paid $50 for it, and I know these arms go for like 200 and some from Muddy, so that was one of the reasons that I purchased it. But it's basically, you strap it around the tree, and you can see there's a little loop on one strap to wrap it around, and you hook the other loop there, and then you just ratchet strap it. Let's go over here. You ratchet strap it right to the tree, no problem, just like anything else. Now, what if your tree's uneven? It's not like you can see here, the tree is not a perfectly straight tree. It's one of the better ones. That's why I kind of came over here right outside my house here to show you. There's a little bubble indicator on the top here. This bubble indicator, as you can see, I've got it pretty good there. You can adjust this to get your cant right, so it's staying true, but also this little knob, if you turn it, it'll adjust how far away from the tree and how close to the tree it is to make sure that your arm is perfectly level. One of the cameras that I'm using, as you can see, I'm using the XA40. This is a brand new, it's a 4K camera from Canon. I really like this camera for not just shooting for outdoors, but also shooting other things. As you can see, it's got a bunch of settings and whatnot for your cameras. So if you're using input 1 or input 2, and I'll show you kind of on the other side, right here, this takes a professional level input. It's got the XLR input, but I'm not using that right now. I'm using this Rode shotgun mic, and this takes a 9-volt battery, which then also plugs into the audio here on the side of the camera. And then I have a fluid head attached to this. Now, what a fluid head will do, it allows you to move this very fluidly without getting the jerky motions when you're filming. So there's different attachments here that you can adjust how much gas is going into it. So that way when you start to adjust it, it's more fluid. So you can get that smooth motion of video when you're filming your own hunts. And I film my own hunts too. One of the things, if you're going to do that, this is a specialty Canon remote control. If you're looking to get one, if you have a Canon, it's a ZR1000. This does work on the standard, the high definition cameras, the HFG40s, the G20s, things like that, if you're using Canon. And that simply plugs into the remote tab right in the side of the camera, right here, you can see. So that here, I love this camera. It does a double SD card right inside here. You can see there's a double bay for SD cards, locks it into place. So you've got A and B. I use one for a backup because I use this at trade shows and whatnot too. But this is essentially my mobile rig. This is one of the ways that I film hunts. I also use GoPros and stuff, and we'll talk about that.
The camera is basically identical, but
Yeah, so right there, we showed you guys how that works. We're going to take a quick break, an actual break. We're going to come back, and we're going to show you some options here with this as well. We got to thank the sponsors here, and I'm breaking things here in the studio. You know how that goes. Everything wants to fall down and break. We'll be right back right after this. Guys, we're back, and we were actually talking during the break here. We were talking about the optical zoom. Sorry, Braedon, I had to cut you off there. You have the G40, HFG40, the 1080.
G20.
Oh, G20.
Yeah, I have the G20. Yep.
And then the XA40 is what I got, which is the step up from their high definition line.
Yep.
So that camera, I mean, we were talking about the Muddy. It's big, it's bulky, it's heavy, but it's a great option.
Yeah, absolutely.
For filming, right?
I mean, it's easy to operate. Like we were talking in the commercial. I'll just bring it up. For example, like right here, this little dial, easy adjustment for your up and down. And then these two pins here, you fold them up, and then you can adjust your left or right. It's got a level bubble on it, so it's like I said, it's a great camera arm. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a little on the bulky side.
Exactly. So okay, so you don't want to spend all that kind of money, and I don't blame you. You know, you're self-filming. So there's a camera that you can get, even if you're if you're fishing, and this is something you're going to see that I use on the boat, and I use in the tree stand. And sometimes in the tree stand, I put it right above me with those cheap Realtree. They have those camera mounts that you can get, or sometimes they're trail camera mounts that you can screw into the tree that you put on it.
Screw-in pegs, yep.
You get yourself one of these. Get yourself a GoPro, and this isn't an actual GoPro. This is a remake or some other model. But you get one. They make all these really cheap adapters. Like this will clamp onto the side of my pontoon, to where I could film, Braedon, somebody pulling in a fish. I could put it near the water so you can see the fish splashing, and it's in a waterproof case. And some of these you can get for sub $100. You can get them for like $80.
Oh yeah, yep.
I actually, and I'm going to show you guys. I actually have 4 of them right now. They're all made by different companies. So you can see, I think this one was the Ultra Pro X, and. I don't even know if they're a company anymore. They might not be. I think this one.
I'm not sure.
This one was a cheapie that I had gotten. This one's in camo. Oh no, that's the GoPro. I just put the camo sticker, but I do have a camo one that is a cheapie. And then this one here, and again, you can get these really cheap. And if you're hunting by yourself. They have bow mounts for them. They have rifle mounts for them that you can get. These are all waterproof containers. This is one that I had gotten. Let me see what the name is on it. I can't even read it. It's inside here, but I'll have to see if I can get the names. I'll put it in the description below. But again, these cameras aren't very expensive. They're very user friendly, and they work great. And then they all come with like a bunch of different mounts like this. And I apologize that it goes out of focus, but that's because it's dark and I wanted you to be able to see the product and not what's behind it. So they have these mounts. The other thing, Braedon, is these types of mounts. They make the chest mounts where you can strap it to your chest. And this is an actual head mount. Like I would actually wear this on my head. And I've done this before when I'm doing stuff with the kids with fishing. I put this on top of my hat and I let this run. So it's almost like my point of view. And this is a camo.
Yeah. Those fishing videos you showed last week.
Yeah.
On last week's spot. And that's what I did. I had my GoPro strapped to my head, and that's how I got my footage.
Yeah. So these inexpensive, you can see, like, I mean, I've gotten them. Obviously you buy them over time. They take a little micro SD card for them. They're great cameras, 1080p, 60. You can use them for archery. Like I said, you hang them in the tree above you. Sometimes I'll put one of these on the ground and use the remote feature on my phone that's Wi-Fi so that I can get the ground shot of it. Like if I want to shoot up, if I think where the deer's at.
Yep, that's a clever design.
So I've done that before. Never have I gotten a deer the day that I've had them on the ground. The other option is this from Tacticam. I have, this is the Tacticam 3.0. Let me get it in focus. Now, this is in a stabilizer. It comes with an Allen wrench and whatever. This is in a stabilizer kit. So, like, if you're a bow hunter, and this replaces your stabilizer. Some guys, there's an attachment. I don't know if that's how you did it, Braedon, where you attach it above your stabilizer.
Yeah, that's how I run mine now. Basically, I just use we'll just call it a barrel mount.
Yeah.
That Tacticam sells, and I run it on top of my stabilizer toward the end of it. Just that way, it just still stays somewhat balanced. And because I like a little bit longer stabilizer, sure. But now they do make a length attachment. A company does. It was called a Tap Booster. I don't know if you remember them or not.
From Tap, yeah. We worked with Tap for a little bit.
So I used them for a little while, but I just felt more comfortable with my Tacticam up top. But
The thing I don't like about this being in the stabilizer, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you guys, is it makes a lot of noise. I mean, like you got to crank the living daylights out of it, so that scares me for one when you're trying to make it tight in here.
yeah,
But it rattles when you shoot. These bows are so powerful that it's actually vibrating the camera inside of this housing. It's almost like Braedon, they should have put like some kind of rubber underneath it or something. Something, right? I mean, it doesn't, like the GoPros don't vibrate like this.
no.
So, I mean, this is an option, but the Tacticam, I do have the mount where I put it on the side of my head. And honestly, I do like that mount with the Tacticam. Like, I will use the Tacticam mounted on the side. I'll show you here. I'll just kind of mock it where I put it like this. And what I'll do is I'll get that when I'm bow hunting, I get this view, even though I'm using that other camera, so I can get a different point of view.
You get like that first person point of view looking down
Exactly.
your bow, basically.
And why don't you talk a little bit about, if you do use this as a stabilizer, there's some pitfalls for it in order to catch your footage, right? What are some of the things that Tacticam tells you?
So my biggest downfall to the Tacticam, like I said, I like the Tacticams. Super simple to operate. One push of the power button and it turns on and it starts recording, and then one tap and it stops. So it's super simple to operate. Like the 5.0 has an 8x zoom, has slow-mo, and then it has just a regular. And they're all just 3 taps, and you can go to the 8x zoom, which is really, really handy. Everything's one, you can do it with one hand. So you can be really, really stealthy with it if you're bow hunting, if it's attached to your stabilizer or whatnot. My only downfall to that, and I ran into it firsthand, was back in 2018, whenever I shot my PA black bear with a bow. I had my G20, obviously, and I was filming it a little bit, and then it got to the point I was like, I don't want to blow the situation, and I don't care that much about the footage. Cool, sure, it'd be cool to have the footage, but I was like, push the camera aside, and I was like, I have my Tacticam. So I pushed the record button, and I got probably 4 or 5 minutes worth of footage of this bear coming into me. And like I said, the downfall to it, I was raised and taught whenever I shoot my bow, after I squeeze the trigger, I let my bow drop. Just so you don't have a firm grip on it, you don't torque your shot or pull your shot.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. That's how they were raised.
That's the way I do it.
But with Tacticam, you're basically trying to teach yourself out of that. And so you shoot, and they want you to hold the bow straight up and just keep filming what you shot. Which, for a filming perspective, yeah, it's great. But at the same time, if you're trying to hold your bow straight up like that, you're going to have a grip on it. So you might torque it left, you might torque it right. You know what I mean? So that's my only downfall I see in the Tacticams.
Yeah, and some of the things with the Tacticams that I didn't like, is like I've had all these cameras around relatively around the same amount of time. The problem that I have with the Tacticam is from the heat, the batteries tend to expand, and there's 2 little clips on the battery. And what happens is the label that goes around it breaks loose, and then the battery pops open. And so I don't know if the battery's any good. It's not holding a charge as well.
Right.
And obviously I have a 3.0, so it's you probably can't even get batteries for it anymore. But my point is, certain things like that, I think they could have done a little bit better, with that. But using it as a stabilizer is not ideal. And I thought, like the tube size of it, putting it on the side of my head felt more comfortable than having a GoPro on the side of my head.
Right. Yeah, more symmetrical.
Weight-wise and everything, so getting that point of view. So this year I want to try to do some more footage that way with it. Maybe I'll get the new Tacticam 5.0. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see if they've made some improvements. But those are options for you guys. But also, there is a lot of guys don't like the camcorders, and I'll explain a little bit because of my broadcasting background and what I do for a living. Why there's guys that use these. These are DSLRs or SLRs or however you want to call them. There's mirrorless ones now. I know, Braedon, you just went out on an impulse buy and got yourself a Sony
A6000. It's a mirrorless camera.
So the SLRs and the mirrorless, those are options that you can go out and shoot video, shoot pictures. Braedon, any of the pictures you've been seeing from No Boundaries and even him, he's been taking with this camera, not the one that you're seeing right now, but his camera. But this is an option as well when you're in the field. You can use this. Now, the benefits of using a DSLR over using a camcorder is the fact that you have more lenses available to you. If you want to do macro lenses, if you want to have a longer zoom, and I think that's why a lot of these guys are using these types of cameras for footage in the field. Whereas a camcorder, you're kind of limited on what kind of lenses that you can put on it. Most of them are, you're stuck with whatever optical zoom is built into the camera.
You have what you have. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I personally don't mind that because I'm hunting and I'm filming. But if I was, let's say, Braedon, you were going out hunting and I was filming you, I would take the DSLR and maybe use the camcorder as like a point of view shot per se. I would do the interview more or less with the SLR because I would want that tighter macro lens so I could get in there and get a good shot with you, but then use the camcorder to do the chasing of the deer, if you will,
right,
as you're making that shot.
Absolutely.
So
that's basically how I'm going to run this year. I'm going to use my camcorder while I'm in the tree.
Yeah.
Obviously, I hopefully get some kill shots, you know what I mean? And then just the deer coming in, deer going away. All aspects of hunting, but I'm going to use my A6000 for the interviews, the hero shots, just stuff like that. I think as far as the camcorders will be easier to use while you're in the stand because, well, a DSLR you can use a power lens too, but they're pretty salty and a remote. Whereas camcorder, you use a remote, there it is. It's simple. So if you don't have a power lens for your DSLR, you're manually zooming in and out. So that's more movement. Makes it a little bit tougher, but a lot of people do it and they have great success with it. So I'm not going to knock using DSLRs for filming like the actual kill shot and whatnot, but that's just what I plan on doing. Use the DSL or my mirrorless camera for interviews and whatnot, and my camcorder for the actual hunting aspect of it.
What I will say though is, if you do get a DSLR, if you're thinking about buying one for hunting, if you're planning on getting it for fishing, if you're trying to get filming, if you're doing whatever you're doing, make sure that you buy one that has a fold-out screen on the side. Because like Braedon said, if you can't see your shot, you're going to be sitting there playing around, making a lot of movements with that interview shot. To have that flip out and be able to rotate completely towards you, just like a camcorder would, so you could see yourself in a confidence monitor to be able to know what you're looking at. You're framed right. You're not cutting your head off. Just like getting this look. That's the way to do it. Or a lot of these cameras are allowing you to connect via Wi-Fi to your phone very easily. You can use your phone as your reference monitor to see if everything's good and just adjust your lens in the front while looking at your phone. You get it perfect while you're getting in a tree. Braedon, you're set. You don't have to monkey with anything.
No, I will say if you are just getting into wanting to film your hunts, it takes a lot of time to get used to it. Like I'm still learning some things here and there about what I could do better with it. But I will say if you're just getting into it, don't go out and spend the $2,000 on a camcorder like you have, Steven, or like my Sony A6000. They make Sony makes a good handy cam.
Yep.
That's a couple $100.
Yep.
and get your feet wet, see if you want to do this, and then once you figure out like all aspects of it, if you want to keep pursuing it, and then go buy the good stuff. The Sony Handycams, they still take good quality stuff. I think they're still like 1080.
Oh, they're absolutely. But one thing you guys got to realize too, and I agree 100% with him. I do this for a living. I do video
Right.
for a living, so I have these cameras because it's part of my job.
Right.
You starting out hunting, if you don't know how the camera works, that's the first thing you do. Get a camera that's, like he said, easier. Learn how it works. But the other thing that most people forget, Braedon, is not just the camera. You got to worry about audio. And a lot of these cameras, they have smaller shotgun mics that you can get. They're a little bit less expensive. The one I showed in my video was about $200.
Right.
That's not a lot considering what microphones can cost. So
Oh yeah.
here's a prime example. You get a new camera. Last week, Braedon was using I believe a built-in camera, right, for your shot.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. My webcam off my computer.
And now PTZ Optics, they're sponsoring us here, and it sent out a new 1080p webcam, right? And now look at it.
Yep. They hooked me up, and now my video quality is next to none.
So so
thank you.
So cameras can change, with quality, when you upgrade things,
Right.
but you got to learn how to use it first. And you're not on TV, so you don't want to spoil your hunt just trying to film it, right?
No, yeah, I ran into that issue a couple times. Like I said, with my bear, I was filming that, and it got to the point I was fiddling with my camera, trying to get the bear in focus and whatnot on my camera, trying to hold my bow, and then finally, like I said, I just got to the point I pushed my camera aside, and I was like, it's my first ever bear. I'm not going to ruin the opportunity because I wanted to film it. I'll have plenty of opportunities to film all of my other hunts, so.
Yeah,
that?
you don't need to do that. It's just it's not worth losing the animal over it or running the risk of knocking. Here's the other thing: knocking the equipment out of the tree, right?
Oh yeah.
So, but get those cheap little attachments. Get yourself a GoPro. Get even a GoPro lookalike. Now anymore, they're like $100 on Amazon. Hook it into the tree and film your hunt that way. Honestly, film your fishing trip. These make I need to find, if you actually go to the No Boundaries Outdoors page on YouTube, I think there's one that Drew and I did of our fishing, and a lot of the footage was coming from a GoPro, and then we had another camera running with the audio, so it picked up the audio. So we had all three cameras running at the same time. So when I went back and edited it, all I had to do is lay it down so that the audio from the good camera was over top of the GoPro.
Right.
Just like they do on TV. But keep this in mind. If you do get GoPro and you're fishing and you're using one of these because they're waterproof, you're afraid something's going to splash on it, it's going to make your audio sound like it's talking out of a tin can. It's going to be muffled because it's enclosed in this enclosure. So keep that in mind if it's something that you really want the audio for. Probably having a waterproof case on is not a good idea if that's your solo camera. I'm just saying.
Right.
That's the risk you run. But, Braedon, I think that's all the time we've got for tonight.
Yep.
So make sure you guys go to Instagram.com/Braedon07, and you can also check him out on TikTok. I think it's Bray.
Bray_ 077.
There you go. So you can go check him out on TikTok. He's always posting his saddle videos and other types of hunting and fishing and snowboarding escapades that he's on. So go check him out. And I think we did pretty good considering we were too short tonight.
Yeah, went really well.
I think
Wish we would have had Aaron and Jake, but
yeah, we got him we'll get him next time. And
we made do.
Yeah, we made do. We carried on the conversation, and everybody got to hear this. But guys, make sure you subscribe to it if you like the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/NoBoundariesOutdoors. Also, the podcast is up on all your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes. Just look up No Boundaries Outdoors, and you can listen to it on your way to work, listen to it on your way to the archery range or to the woods, and you just want to hear some normal people talk about hunting and fishing and loving every day. But we're going to come back next week hopefully we'll have Jake back with us, and we're going to talk some more hunting and fishing. And you guys could check me out, Instagram.com/NBO Steven. I'm pretty much everywhere. Just look for No Boundaries Outdoors. Follow and like our Facebook page. Check out our website, noboundariesoutdoors.com, and we will see you guys next Thursday night. Have a great night.